KC Joyner, NFL Insider, is here. One thought on every game, the matchups in the Philadelphia-Washington game. We got it all as KC Joyner is back with us for NFL 2020. Check out his new site. It's called Pay Dirt, a awesome football analytics center. You can check out more on Pay Dirt. Follow KC Joyner at KC Joyner TFS. And also, he's picking games this year. His Week 1 picks are now available at PickWatch, NFLPickWatch.com, where you can get confidence levels on each and every one of his game picks for the 2020 season. And he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda hotline, as he will each and every Friday and Monday, to recap Week 1 of the season. But first, we need to take a look at all the matchups. KC Joyner, welcome back.
It is fantastic to be here. It's kind of surreal. I was talking to somebody online yesterday, and he's like, it's surreal, it's here. It's like, yeah, but it's here. It's so awesome.
It is awesome. The game last night, let's get a quick take on that, because it was awesome. It was great to have the game back. There was a limited crowd there, but it didn't really affect the game too much. But what I saw was a Chiefs team that's going to be tough to beat in the AFC.
Been saying all off season that if you look at Kansas City late last year, first half of the season they're like they were in 2018, lots of scoring, lots of passing, but they're 6-4 in their first 10. Last 9 games of the season, if you include the playoffs, only twice that they have 300-plus net passing yards, and 3 times they had fewer than 200 net passing yards. This is a team that wants to run the ball. They'll go vertical if you'll let them, but if you want to sit back there and take away the vertical stuff, they will power run you all day long, and now that they can beat you both ways and they got a good defense, this is a juggernaut.
All right, Casey, let's get into matchups to watch. Philadelphia, Washington, interesting game because Washington, new coach. We don't know what to expect from them, but Ron Rivera, he's been with Carolina. Eagles offensive line, it's a mess. Jason Peters is back at left tackle. We don't know who's going to play right tackle, if Lane Johnson's ready to go or not. The right guard's going to be new. So that offensive line of the Eagles against the defensive line from Washington.
If you look at if you just said, hey, by the way, that this is who the starting lineup could be, you said Peters, Seumalo, Kelsey, Johnson at right tackle, if he replaced, and they'd have Pryor. If you said that coming into the season, you'd go, oh, that's fine. But you go, no, that's not how it happened. You had all these injuries, people moving around, so I hate the uncertainty up front. Having said that, Washington had the third highest good blocking rate allowed on rush defense last year. I mean, they just allowed you to get good blocking quite frequently. I don't think their defense has improved that much. I'm concerned for the Eagles, but if I'm them, maybe I do a lot of spreading the offense out and things and spreading the defense out, so maybe you only have to go 6 in the box, something of that nature, and try and give your offensive lineman a little less to go with. But I'd also go 2 tight end sets. If they do that, they can make up for these inconsistency issues.
All right, Ertz, Jackson's back. Rieger's going to play. Goddard, they've got Miles Sanders. The Eagles' weapons against the Washington linebackers and secondary.
Well, Boston Scott, too. I mean, if you want to add him in there, too, as far as somebody who could rotate in if Sanders and that hamstring slow him up. Sanders last year in the last quarter of the season, he had a 9.4 yards per attempt on my good blocking yards per attempt metric, which measures how it's basically a breakaway metric. And if you're at 10 in that metric, you're in the elite of the elite in the league. Only one back had 10-plus last year. So when you give him good blocking, can get that kind of a breakaway ability. So even if the Eagles' offensive line only gives him good run blocking, say 35, 40% of the time, he can still break off some big plays. Jackson, if he's back to full strength, they won't miss Jeffrey, and they can tear the top off the defense because Washington has 2 people in their secondary, 2 cornerbacks in their secondary, who allowed a completion rate of 75% or higher last year. So they've got people who can go target.
How about the Eagles' new-look secondary? Darius Slay, Avonte Maddox, Nickel Roby-Coleman. You got Jalen Mills playing safety against the Washington. McLaurin blitzed them last year with Haskins in that game. So is that a problem?
I measure, as I've been set up for the years, I measure my cornerbacks when I do my start sit rankings for my start sit service on my site. My cornerback rankings are red is a cornerback you should avoid in fantasy. It's a really strong cornerback. Yellow is okay. Green is a bad cornerback. I've got the Eagles actually across the whole secondary. I've got the Eagles as Maddox at red-rated, Mills at red-rated at strong safety. I got Slay at red-rated. I got Roby-Coleman as red-rated. I got 4 of the 5 as red-rated. People are talking about Slay's going to have to follow McLaurin. I just remember what happened last year, but they're talking about he's going to have to. I don't think he has to. I think they should, because you want to get some practice in and having somebody do some shadow coverage that they want to do this year. But I'm looking at the secondary going, if talent level holds up and they play to their talent level, I think that it's a mismatch for the Eagles in the secondary.
What about the Eagles' defensive front against that Washington offensive line? Trent Williams no longer there. Their line's just been iffy. The Eagles, Graham, if Barnett plays, Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson, how do you like that matchup?
Yeah, I like the matchup because the Eagles are going to play, obviously, their typical one gap. We're going to get upfield. And the Eagles last year had the third lowest good blocking rate allowed on defense. It's typical for them. That's what they've done every year. They're usually on the 35% range. And Washington's offensive line last year had the third lowest good blocking rate on offense. I don't think that they're going to be able to give their ball carriers quality run blocking and even a third of the carries. And plus, their running backs are – they've got a rotation at running back. Is it going to be McKissick? Is it going to be Gibson? They've got Bryce Love ranked fourth. They got Barber. They've rotated people all around. I don't think they know what their backfield wants to be, so they've got not only offensive line continuity issues, they have backfield issues in their back. So I just think this is going to be I think we're going to see some ugly football from Washington this week.
Okay, well, where's the one matchup that is the biggest difference in this game?
The one matchup that is the biggest difference in this game, I mentioned the Eagles in the secondary. I think the way that they've gone from a safety-centric secondary to a cornerback-centric secondary, I think that if they can keep McLaurin in check, and I really believe that they can, as long as they don't blow any coverages, and it's really hard to say early in the season because you're going to get mistake coverages. You saw some of that last night, so you might get that. But as long as they don't have any blown coverages, and maybe that's why you stick to all-man coverage and slay on McLaurin, if you take him out of the contest, Washington has nobody else. They've got no tight ends, and the receiving core behind McLaurin is terrible. I think it's a total mismatch there for the Eagles if it plays out to the talent level. Dwayne
Haskins, is he capable? He had a huge game against Philly last time. Is he capable to lead Washington to an upset?
Washington will utilize his rushing ability, I think, more this year than they did last year. At least they're going to be willing to. Obviously, because Rivera had with Newton, he crafted a lot of game plans that did that. Having said that, Haskins makes a lot of mistakes. He's very much a young quarterback. Some young quarterbacks get the speed quickly. He didn't last year. I think he's going to force a lot of passes into coverage. I think of the Eagles and the way that the mismatch they have in their secondary, I think they can get a lot of picks from him. So maybe if they put in a game plan that allows him to use a lot of his just natural rushing ability and maybe some plays on the run, maybe that would do it. But if they just try and stick with the standard game plan script, I don't think it's a good way for them to go on this one.
Give me your thoughts on Carson Wentz in year 5.
In year 5, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, has it?
Nope.
Year 5. Carson Wentz in year 5, I think he's shown now that he can stay healthy. I think he needs to continue to show that he can stay healthy. And I want to see him, though. Every year we go in and there's some kind of big changes, and there's something. Even this year, the wide receiving core, not even one Eagles receiver last year played on 60% of the snaps. The only one who came closest was Aguilar, and obviously he's of the Raiders now. So they've got so much turnover. I'd love to see a season where we're already seeing injuries, but he has Jackson, he has Rager, he has Ertz, he has Goddard, and he has all these receivers in his backs, and this offense stays relatively healthy for him. Because if he can get 1 year where he can get a relatively healthy offense, I think then we're going to see what type of player he can be. But right now, he's having to make do with all these issues around him, and we have to factor that in because if you take all those things into account, he's been playing quite well.
We'll get KC Joyner's pick on this game in just a few minutes, but first, let's get one thought on every game in week number 1 from KC Joyner. And, of course, you can check him out at KC Joyner TFS. Pay Dirt is up and active for the 2020 season, and NFLPickWatch.com is where he has all his picks and his confidence level on all those picks. Let's get one thought on each game. Seattle traveled across the country. Atlanta, we got, Atlanta. This is maybe the last run for this offense here with Ryan and Jones and Ridley. I mean, they got Gurley there now, too, so it's a lot different look.
It is a lot different look. Seattle's got the longest road trip in week 1. They traveled 2,182 miles, and you'd think that'd be a terrible thing. But last year, in games where they haven't traveled to the Eastern time zone, they were 6-0. They also have Atlanta's secondary it's the most favorable pass defense matchup according to my rankings this week. So I got Seattle winning this one. Got confidence level 5 on this.
All right, Jets. they finished 7-9. Who knew last year? But everybody loves Buffalo. Is this one of those games where everybody loves Buffalo and the Jets can sneak one out?
Surprising, people don't think that Gase turned a 4-win caliber roster in Miami into a solid club. And mind you, the Jets won 6 of the last 8 games last year, and if Darnold didn't miss the first 3 games of the season, they're probably a playoff contender. I still think Buffalo has a huge talent edge, actually a significant talent edge, not as big as it had been in past years. And the Jets are still having a lot of turnover and things. But I've got Buffalo winning this one because of that, but only confidence level 2.
A nice close game, possibly confidence level 2. Bears, Trubisky's back again, but Stafford's back for the Lions. Detroit was a mess without him last year. Things different with him in the lineup.
It is different. Last year, he only played 8 games, but if he'd prorate his 8-game performance over 16 games, he'd have 5,000 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, only 10 picks. Problem for them is Galladay's hurt. I think they, like a lot of teams, are going to take it very carefully with any of their injured players. They don't want to take these players who haven't gotten into full condition and wear them out early on and cause a short-term issue to be a long-term. Having said that, they've got Marvin Jones. They got plenty of other talent in the secondary. In Chicago, or plenty of receiving core in Chicago secondary, is nowhere near as good as it would be as it had been in past years. So I got Detroit, confidence level 6.
Green Bay, Minnesota, these 2 teams, I think, you have the 2 other teams in the North playing, these 2 teams playing. Minnesota made the big move to get Ngakoue. They've obviously traded away Diggs. Green Bay, I think last year they had that big year, but people didn't buy into them. I guess they can make a statement here, but they got to go to Minnesota. They've
only won one of the last 4 road contests at Minnesota, and that was last year when Cook and Madison were out, and Vikings had Mike Boone, and that didn't work. But Cook and Madison are healthy right now. Problem for Minnesota is that they just lost Daniil Hunter to an injury, so their pass rush, which would have been a great 1-2 pass rush in Ngakoue, now it's kind of a 1 pass rush. Even saying that, I just like the idea that Minnesota at home, they're roughly equal talent, but I'll take Minnesota at home with their healthy running backs. Only confidence level 3, though.
All right, Miami going to New England. Don't know what to expect from the Patriots. It's Cam Newton's team now. Miami, last year we thought, I remember having conversations with you about how bad they were, how embarrassing it was. They turned things around, Miami, a little bit. Don't know if they're a playoff team yet, but I'm not sure what we think about New England.
Miami won 5 out of the last 9 games last year, 5-4 in their last 9. It's like, wow, for a team that lost 59-0 in Baltimore was giving up on their team and their coach and all that. I mean, Brian Flores kept it together, and that's kudos to him. I mean, New England lost Brady. They lost a ton of defensive talent. They don't even know right now. If you look at their depth chart, they don't have a kicker listed. They had their 2 kickers in preseason. They might be bringing somebody else in, so we don't even know who they've got kicking for that. But they've got Newton. They've got a receiving core that's probably better than people think, and they're going to have a game plan that's centered for Newton's talent. I think that's enough to give them the edge, especially at home. I think Miami keeps it close. I got New England this one with a confidence level of 6.
New coach in Carolina, Matt Rule, is in the house. An old coach in Vegas, John Gruden, in year number 2. Carolina's obviously got the new quarterback with Bridgewater. Henry Ruggs makes his debut for the Raiders. Kind of an under-the-radar, interesting game.
Underrated, I would agree with that. Bridgewater, I don't think last year in New Orleans, I think they ran a run-heavy offense. I think Carolina's going to let him throw the ball 600-plus times. I think they're going to make this, when you look at their roster composition, they kept a lot of receivers and such. I think they're going to have him throw the ball. Plus, I love Ian Thomas. Fantasy football, I think he's a tremendous sleeper, and I think he's somebody who could see 100 targets and play quite well. The Raiders have, it's a very favorable matchup, 73 matchup points out of 100 for the Panthers in this one, so that's a big plus. The big thing that scares me, though, is Raiders last year. They were 2-6 on the road, and they were 1-5 in games where they had to go either to the Central or Eastern time zone. So they don't play on the road well, so I got Carolina confidence level 4.
I like it. I drafted Ian Thomas in my fantasy league, actually. Jacksonville, everybody thinks they're the Dolphins of last year. The Colts have Phillip Rivers under center now. They got to travel to Jacksonville. It's Gardner Minshew getting the start for the Jags. Obviously, Indianapolis, they're a big-time road favorite in this game. Is Jacksonville as bad as everybody says?
I think Jacksonville is as bad as everybody says. And the thing is, if the locker room, and I don't say this is happening, but if the locker room thinks that the front office is tanking the season or is just thinking, hey, we want to get Trevor Lawrence, if that's what the locker room ends up thinking, it could be a lot of players versus management kind of situation. It can really devolve quickly. And I think that's an ugly thing there. But the Colts, better O-line, great backfield with their 2 running backs, great Thunder and Lightning core. They've got Rivers. They've got a tremendous linebacking core. I I think it's one of the best picks of the week. I've got Colts with a confidence level 9. Would have made it 10. I just don't like to put a 10 confidence level in week 1.
Confidence level 9 on that one. A road win in the division. All right. Cleveland and Baltimore. Obviously, Baltimore 14-2, disappointing loss. Cleveland had a disappointing season last year. A lot more quiet in Cleveland this year. Could they go on the road and knock off Baltimore? There's no fans there.
No fans there, but they also have, J.C. Treader, the Browns center, is questionable. They're out going to be missing Kevin Johnson, one of their cornerbacks. They're going to be missing Greedy Williams. So the secondary is already missing 2 cornerbacks going into this matchup. I know the fans are going to be in the stands, but it's still at Baltimore. Baltimore blocks better. They got a better quarterback, a better secondary, arguably the best kicker in the league. Again, it's another game that would have been a 10 confidence level. It wasn't in week 1. Definitely taking Baltimore.
All right. It's the Chargers heading to Cincinnati. Burrow, A.J. Green's back. Tyler Boyd, some nice weapons. Mixon. Chargers are going to go with Tyrod Taylor as the Rivers era comes to a close. 2 teams with not great expectations.
Not great expectations. I think one of the underrated storylines here that's just coming out today is the Chargers could be missing as many as 3 offensive linemen in this contest. So that's a very, very big deal that they could be missing those players. It's not enough, and mind you, the Bengals, you mentioned Burrow, and they've got Mixon, and they've got Boyd, and they've got Green. They've got some talent on that offense. They even have John Ross is actually going to be the number 3. He won the spot over T. Higgins, and Ross is a tear the top off of the defense kind of player. So you've got a number of big players there. I still like the Chargers defense, even without Derwin James, and it's tough to pick them. I picked them at the confidence level 6 earlier this week. I think I'm going to drop that down to a 3.
Maybe the most intriguing game of the weekend. It is Tom Brady's debut in Tampa, going to New Orleans. No fans at the Superdome. That changes some things, but it's Breeze versus Brady. Combined age about 85 between those two guys, but man, we'll see them both slinging around, I'm sure.
Definitely. Mind you, the Saints want to be a run, if not a run-centric team, they want to be a run-heavier team. They're going to kind of be like Kansas City is, and there's a lot of trends leaning in that direction for them to do that. They don't want Breeze passing 600 times. Brady, they'll have him throw 600 times, but missing Mike Evans is doubtful for this contest. He's probably going to miss. That's going to be a problem. The Saints' offense is every bit as good as the Bucs' offense, and the Saints have the better defense. It's a really tough pick this week, but it is at New Orleans, and New Orleans has a slightly better deal, or actually probably a step up on defense. You combine those two together, I'm going New Orleans with a confidence level of 2, but it's truly toss-up game.
Yes. That should be a good one. We'll have that game at 5 o'clock right after the Eagles coverage on 97.3 ESPN. Arizona, I like this team. I don't know if they're a playoff team yet, but they wouldn't surprise me if they were one of the teams that didn't make it last year that ends up making it this year. You got to love DeAndre Hopkins. Murray was exciting last year, but San Francisco, this is one of the best defenses in the league they get stuck with in week number 1.
It is, and Murray's a sleeper MVP, and Kenyon Drake had near elite breakaway numbers and good blocking yards per attempt. Hopkins, as you mentioned, is tremendous, and they actually have a pretty talented receiving core across the board. Problem is Arizona, I have trouble seeing them in power matchups. They can play a certain type of game, but you put them into a power matchup where they got to go do smash mouth with another team. They haven't shown they can handle that yet. In San Francisco, that's what they excel at. Because it's at San Francisco, I'm going to take San Francisco in this one, confidence level of 5, but Arizona's got to show that they can do that, because if they don't, this problem's going to come up again and again for them.
Sunday Night Football right here on 97.3 ESPN. It is the Cowboys and the Rams. A lot of people like this Cowboys team. They added, obviously, another weapon in the draft, and CeeDee Lamb and the Rams. This is a team that went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, so it's an intriguing Sunday night matchup.
Very intriguing matchup. Lamb, people don't think, I was hearing from fantasy managers going, there's no way that CeeDee Lamb can be an impact player in that offense. There's such a run-heavy offense. I'm like, okay, the Rams had 3 impact receivers, and they have a run-heavy offense. So I think that's exactly what Dallas can be. You can have Gallup and Lamb and Cooper and have a tremendous, and plus Blake Jarwin, too, by the way. I think he's going to be a very under-the-radar player this year. Love him in fantasy. Los Angeles has Van Jefferson as their rookie receiver. He's going to be stepping up, too, so I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Dallas is the edge at quarterback and running back, but they don't have an edge in other areas. When I look at it all, I'm going to pick the Rams. It's a kind of an upset pick, but confidence level of 2 just because they're playing at home, but this could go either way.
All right, 2 Monday night games. We will break those down on Monday with KC Joyner. He'll be back to recap all the Week 1 action at 5:15 on Monday night. Plus, we'll look ahead to the 2 Monday night games. That's Pittsburgh, New York, Tennessee, and Denver. You can hear both those games on 97.3 ESPN. Before we let Casey Joyner run, though, we got to get his pick and confidence level for the Eagles and Washington, a game you'll hear on Sunday at 1 right here on 97.3 ESPN. Philly on the road. They've played Washington very well down there. They've beaten them 6 straight times, 14-9 overall at FedEx Field. So it is Carson Wentz and Dwayne Haskins, your starting quarterbacks. Casey Joyner, who do you like?
Definitely like Philadelphia in this one. I kicked around the confidence level. I could have gone even higher on this, but because the Eagles have so much turnover in the offensive line and the inconsistency there, and the wide receiver turnover and everything else that they have, plus they changed 6 starters in defense, Hargrave's out. So, I mean, they just have, if it wasn't for that, I'd make a confidence level 9 in this. I'm going confidence level of 7, but I probably actually feel stronger about it than that. I'm just playing a little bit safe.
So Eagles win the game, confidence level 7 for Casey Joyner. Casey Joyner at KC Joyner TFS. You can get him there on, of course, his Twitter, and introducing Pay Dirt. Check that out as well. And get your picks each week at NFLPickWatch.com. His Week 1 Pick'em selections are up, and you can get that at NFLPickWatch.com. Casey Joyner's back on Monday to recap Week 1. Likes the Eagles to win Week 1 against Washington. All right, Casey, enjoy the football.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.